so I can join in. All right, let's go here, everyone. I'm Johnny Angel, and welcome to those on the call already and those that will be getting it, that have signed up and want to get the video of this. I'm so glad you're here because this is what I spend my life doing, is working on media. I feel like books are like, it's the #1 package. It's that thing that speaks for you, even more than a movie. It can say things like, people read it, they know you, they get the ideas, it transforms the culture, and it's like that magic package. And I've been working with transformational culture for 20 years. So for me, this is like the big baby to get out there. Now, the whole reason I wrote this is I've been helping other writers get published. And the thing I noticed is they come to me thinking like a writer. And writers tend to think things have to take much longer than they need to. And maybe aren't thinking about what a publisher is looking for, what really the audiences that are already out there craving what they're about to do. And maybe they can't even, they don't know how to articulate their vision that well. Okay, I want to see, can everyone hear me in the mess? Like, could someone in the chat just write that you can hear me before I go for a whole hour? Anyone, can you hear me? Okay, thank you guys, I appreciate it. Now, thinking into this webinar, I thought I want to give you these 7 steps. And like usually when I teach this, you might be surprised that only one of these steps actually really has a lot to deal with writing. Because I think most people get tripped up on getting their book published in many other places. And the writing is almost like an additional thing. So if we can work on these other things and get those right and really amazing, I think the whole thing will work. So what I say to clients when they start working with me, don't think of me like a writer. Don't think of me like an editor. We're going to work a lot more quickly than that. We're going to get a lot more value. We're going to find your value, your market, your idea, your concept. And the only thing we're going to do is think like an agent. So here are the 7 steps I have. And I want to hear your books too, guys. I'm like dying to know what you've got. I just got a bunch of books from publishers today for releases from actually a couple different publishers. And I'm willing to bet there are better titles on this call. That there are titles we could get published through those guys or other ones. And that's kind of what I'm curious to see, is play with the ideas you guys are rolling with, what your journey is, how this information meshes with your own genius. So pretty soon I'll be asking questions to you guys about your books or ideas or your career. Okay, so in my social media, I said there's one thing, and that's it, that really trips up most people from getting published. It's not writing, it's not the idea, it's not where they're at in their life, it's none of that stuff. It's not even their genius. I've seen the biggest geniuses not able to get published because of, actually, it's kind of step 1 and 2 here. The first step is so simple. You have to say yes. You have to say yes. Step 1, you have to say yes. I might as well put that in the chat. And I think an agent's going to be looking for this. You can hear it in people's voices. You can hear if they're passionate, if they're determined, if they're ready to say yes. And the number we're going to use for each one of these is 95%. You got to be a 95% yes. A+ or an A, high A. A fuck yeah, as I say. I call it the fuck yeah frequency. It's a little cheesy. And if you say yes, you're saying yes, I'm going to actually accomplish something. I think that's the problem with most of transformational culture. They're so busy healing, trying, going to the next festival, writing the next blog, doing the next social media thing. And if they could just settle into themselves, to their own genius, to refining that one thing they really want to say, that it's going to blow up the world, and say, yes, it all comes true. So you got to say yes to yourself, yes to believing in your own genius. And honestly, I only believe it because I go through this process, and I'll be totally clueless on people. Sometimes kids are very new at writing books, very new on their initiatory journey, whatever. But usually within a couple weeks, we have an idea of a book I would buy. And that's kind of something that's really remarkable for me, is how the genius comes out. And I think part of that saying yes is saying yes to your own source energy. Yes to the bigger version of you, who you are. As one of my writer's friends calls it, it's yes to your second life, the life after you got published. You can say yes to a bigger you. Yes to having people know your ideas before they ever meet you. I love that about the Electric Jesus. Random strangers coming up to you and say, I love your book. People writing you saying, I had dreams about you, where you and I saved the world. I get that stuff all the time. The Huffington Post, when my book got published, they put something on the front page of the religion section and then started asking me to be a blogger. So there goes the writing gig. And I especially want to get you guys into the idea of yes to money. Because if you want to work with an agent, a publisher, a good one, that's kind of an internal transformation that happens for people. Yes. And I would say yes to a career of you making money, not just speaking, not just doing these things, but your book somehow, for a lot of people, will give your clients. And often you'll make sometimes just as much off clients as your book, because it's such a high quality value. They join up for your program, and your book is kind of that passport to get them to sign up, to connect with you as a conscious visionary and a life changer. So we'll be talking about that, especially as we talk about the niches and the solution that your book will involve, and how that might relate to a bigger program of yours. I kind of like to think of all my clients not just as writers, but as kind of like modern day intellectual superstars. And some of them end up doing music, some of them end up doing ceremonies, some of them end up doing this or that. But I like agenting the whole thing. And so you'll see as we build your book, it's with a bigger vision of how to agent your whole career and see you shine. So in the end, I think the thing you really have to say yes to is shining your genius on the world. Owning it yourself with help, with a coach, with an ally that can talk you through, and shining. So all you got to do is say yes. If you can say that 95% of the time, yes, there's the 5% where you hate your work, you hate your writing, this is miserable. I don't know if it would be a book if you didn't go through that a few times, because that's called the process. A little bit of contrast will lift you up to a higher vibrational, metaphorical level in your book. It's good, 5%. That's why it's 95, not 100. But I would say only 5% of people who want to write a book can do this. Really say yes to themselves, yes to completing this wonderful task. If all you do is say yes, it'll happen. But most people, I think, are stuck in this 85%. And so we'll get to step 2 here, which is, I know you have to do this. Choose your attitude. You choose your attitude. And I would say that, what kind of attitude? Well, it's got to be a winning attitude, a successful attitude. No matter what the blocks or whatever, it'll go through. And I was kind of talking to Claudia about this. Having a winning attitude is also being willing to quarterback it. Now, of course, quarterbacking is one of the worst metaphors for literary people. Most people don't watch football, or they don't care. It's just like this. So it's lost on a lot of folks. But I see it that way, because essentially you are in the center of this amazing dream, and you are marching down that field to a touchdown, to a score, to a thing that very few people ever do, which is successfully usher a book into creation. And not only that, market it through giant networks that are now building up. And I'll talk about that extreme niche value in a second. But you got to choose this winning attitude. You got to quarterback it yourself. I know with any writer out there, if they just choose a winning attitude and work with me, step by step, we will get this down the field. But like I said, most people have this kind of 85% attitude to life. I call it the 85% guy, our gal, our transgender, the 85% guy. And I always think of Cheers, like Norm Peterson. I think that's most of our reality. It's people not being quite passionate, not quite like, I'm going to just throw in and do this thing. So if you choose that attitude, we will quarterback to it. But that's it. I really think, maybe this is why I'm doing this course, is I feel like a lot of the folks I'm working with are getting it. And then there's a few folks out there that they have these best-selling titles. They would do so well. They already have huge careers, conscious visionaries, ace performers, but they can't settle in to say yes to what this dream that they've had for years. I don't know why, but tons of people like me and probably you guys, we want a book. I want to throw that down, say, look at my passport, read it, know me, know this culture, know this thing I'm writing about, get it like I get it, and share that wisdom. But a lot of these conscious visionaries, they're just kind of at the 85%. They're still too busy, still hustling, to this, to that, not the right timing. There's always this thing of like, in the future, I'll do this. When this one thing works out. I've been like that. A lot of people ask me, when is the Electric Jesus, the sequel coming out? And it wasn't until I started really doing this program that finally, after years, I'm committed. My next book's ready to go. And so, you know, I'm hoping there's kind of a catalyzing energy here that says you can do it now. You don't have to wait till the end of time. I'm always surprised at how books pick up, how ideas come through, even with people that are a little novice to it. And the visionaries out there that are already at the festivals, already have their ideas, already have that. If you can just settle in, say yes, choose a winning attitude, we can do it. And I don't ask for 95% of your time. I'd like less than 5%. Writing doesn't have to take a long time. And it can be a perennial book. It can be a really great book, a deep book, a significant book, and still a bestseller, and still can be done. I don't know. Books can be done in 3 months, 6 months. I think 6 months is good, 9 months, because it's still going to take. I'm a big fan of getting paid and getting you paid and having publishing, like marketing engines that will fire for you when it goes out. So that's why I don't do self-publishing too much. I like to market. I like to like pitch people, see if we get a little niche bidding war from different companies. So you get paid in advance, but then that tends to take 9 months to a year to go out. So that's why I like to get a book moving along, show if you think like an agent, it can go pretty quickly, and then get it published. So that 1 was say yes, 2 is choose your attitude. Now 3, I think you guys will you'll be getting into this because we're getting into details now. We're getting into well, what's the secret formula for this? And I have to say, like, first of all, it took me 15 years to get published. And then I learned how to write in an afternoon. I went to creative writing school. I was editor of the Prague Post. I did all these things, but I really didn't learn write until one afternoon. And that's something I teach in this program, and we'll address that as the last thing of this. But it took me 15 years to come up with this formula that's so simple. It's kind of ridiculous and stupid, but usually when I'm on a call with someone, it's those ideas where you're like, oh my God, that's so stupid, it just might work. Those are usually the 95% ideas. Those are the ones that really kick and roll because they've got a little bit of an attitude. So here's my super stupid formula for a best-selling book in your niche. And I'll talk about why that's so important. Now I was talking to a pretty well-published writer in my field a couple nights ago, and he was interested in me doing some type of agency for him, work with him, see what publishers would be interested in the idea he had. And I ran this idea of $1 million niches by him. And he seems totally confused. And I think this person's actually a better writer than I am, probably. But he's not, he didn't grow up doing media like me. He didn't start thinking about markets like I do. I'm obsessed with that stuff. I don't know why. Always been a media guy. Always loved to see where culture is rising. Maybe you guys are like that. Maybe your books are about certain cultures rising up and how they fuse. That's where we get into the niche. Well, he talked to me and he had no selling points for his book, except this is the sequel to the last one, which didn't sell as well as he wanted anyway. And I was like, well, if I was to pick this up, we need to get your $1 million niches down. You need to know who's going to buy this book. And this was, I don't want to get into it because he's just beginning. I'll keep that a secret. But by the end of the call, he suddenly saw that there were millions of people waiting for this book from different niches. But he didn't know that. And he didn't know how to approach a publisher like that, or a literary agent, or anybody, acquisitions editor. But sorry, I'm getting a Zoom message here. But I think worst of all is he didn't know it for his book. So he couldn't embed his book with things that are going to ignite significance in niche markets that I think are huge now. And that's kind of this is my biggest argument right here, is a lot of these things that were totally counterculture and ghetto in the past are now huge subcultures that are rising. And I've been part of these. You guys probably have too. I'm so delighted to see this. And I'm so delighted that we can create media to go in there, be extremely successful, and expand that conversation in these niches. Each of these niches has what I call at least $1 million value for you. It means there are so many people passionate about it that there's $1 million worth of energetic value just in playing with these communities, probably even more. And if we hook up 3 or 4 of these communities in a smart, succinct way, you can reach these markets. And through your personality and your energy and your experience and your attitude and ideas, your leading edge. So I just want to guide you through some of these big niches through books that are in my house, books I'm representing in media, things like that. See what you guys think. I notice these are very healery books because that's a little bit of my entry point with some of these publishers, but I'll give you other examples too. Here's the Psychedelic Explorer's Guide. Huge perennial bestseller now for inner traditions. It hits this market that I just think is huge. It's psychedelic science, maps, all these people going to festivals. There's, I think, 9 million people that go to the Arrowhead kind of how to do drugs, how to do ayahuasca. There's the ayahuasca movement, all the journalism following ayahuasca, all the kids doing DMT, the sphere molecule. It all leads into this very simple guide. So I would say there are significant niches, $1 million niches within that one book. And yet it's still very kind of within one niche of psychedelics. Very smart. I do have issues with the cover. I also have issues a little bit with the subtitle, Safe, Therapeutic, and Sacred Journeys. So that's a different story. We'll get into title and concept in a bit. Extended Massive Orgasm, that's a whole Tantra thing. This actually solves a problem. I'm going to keep that till later. I thought this was a great one. The Ethical Slut. A practical guide to polyamory, open relationships, and other adventures. It's got a pretty cool title. This is my favorite niche. This is what Johnny really wants. I want books that are like concept books. They're transformational books, and yet mainstream people will get them. Hipsters will get them. I actually think maybe they could have done a little different title, but I understand what or a cover, but I get what they're doing. And it's a whole subculture that can kind of own the word slut and make it fun. There's a redefinition. There's an edge in this niche, which we'll get into, your leading edge. But this is exactly the kind of fuse book I love. It's hipster, it's mainstream, and it's this countercultural wealth of information. Along those lines in sexuality, I think this book did very well too. Urban Tantra by Barbara Carellis. Honestly, I don't think this book, the content of it, is any better than any other Tantra book I've read. But I think they did that cover. I think it's these niche markets of Tantra, kind of this hipster, even in the tattoo is evocative of these kind of new cultures that are coming out. God, I bet you could even have Urban Tantra artistic tarot cards. Now here's kind of a simple one. Stone Medicine. So it's like a healing alternative health wellness. That's a bestseller. Oh, here's another good healing. Like I said, I have a lot of healing books here though. Vibrational Medicine. This is Energy Healers. This is a bestseller for inner traditions. Acid Alkaline Diet. That's, you kind of get where these things are. Oh, here's a weird one. This one is selling very well for them. Norse Ruins. And that's knowing your market. Because I think all this Game of Thrones stuff is getting people very excited. And also, there's all this Nordic, you guys may know this better than me, Nordic and Viking and all these shows around this, and people are really into this right now. So it's selling well. We'll see we'll see if this continues. And this one's doing well too. I think this one seems very simple and almost lowbrow. And it's bestseller perennial already. Cannabis and Spirituality, an Explorer's Guide. See, there's always these guides and self-help, but they're deeper than just your cheesy self-help book. An Explorer's Guides to an Ancient Plant Spirit Ally. Pretty good. And it hits this whole rising cannabis industry, millions legalizing in states across across the world. And honestly, this is what I'm into. I quit 100 ceremonies of ayahuasca and just started doing like cannabis and yoga, energy medicine as well. All right. So those are some niches, $1 million niches. You got to think like them, passionate like them. What are they into? Where do they go? If they're going to drop their money and go on a vacation, are they going to the ayahuasca thing? Are they going to the tantra group? Are they going to Rome to meet going to Paris to see if they can reignite love? Are they going into cryptocurrency conventions? And that's good for your book too. If you write these things, you go to a cryptocurrency convention and have this adventure with the wisdom you're giving us. And knowing those niches, I think, is key. And all of these are like $1 million ones. And I'm interested in all of them. I love to represent people. Now, I do want to ask you guys before I go on, because I've been talking for a bit, are there niches that you love, that you kind of feel like you even own a little bit, or you know them like the back of your hand? You know the people in them. You know what they love. You know what their favorite heroes are, and you can put those in the book, or stories. There's kind of legends in each niche too. So let's see. Does anyone have a niche that they're just obsessed with right now? And feel free to write the idea around the niche and just put it in the chat if you can. Let's do it in the chat and just put it to everyone. Oh my God, Vicky, sci-fi. Okay. I'm not going to I don't think you can even do video on this with the people, but could you tell me a little more about your sci-fi niche? Because that's a big niche. It's like psychedelics. What kind of sci-fi? Like, are we talking, is this like a Blade Runner looking sci-fi? I'm more of a movie sci-fi guy. So if we had a breakthrough best-selling book constellation, aliens. Okay, now we're into, see, this is so great. We have sci-fi, aliens, wormholes, and I would be kind of like, well, what type of aliens? Are these like Anunnaki? Is this more of like grays, wormholes? Oh my God. It's so funny you're saying these too, because I can sell this already. If we follow the formula, we can sell it, because aliens are huge, huge. First of all, Gaia, that's their biggest thing, is cosmic disclosure. Like, that's how they're making all their money these days. Inner Traditions, they just put out 3 different alien books. Connecting with Los Alamos and the detonation of the new Trinity. Yeah, and see, I feel like there's a through line I'd want to see. Like, what's your through line? Is this, it's fiction. Mm-hmm. See, and this gets even more important for fiction, because fiction, in all honesty, is harder to sell. And, I just talked to 2 publishers about that. And yet they do sell. In fact, that's some of my favorite reading. So, these market niches are going to be key for you, Vicky, because we got to kind of prove to a publisher, why is this going to sell? Why do people have to read this? And, when I see sci-fi, I'm sorry, but there are not good enough sci-fis in the world. So I'm always thinking movie option. And often when I'm thinking plot in people's books, it helps for them to think like a movie. And that's actually, that's how I should probably do one, think like a movie, and teach a little writing 1 hour thing on that. Like, if everyone wrote their books like they were a movie, I would have to edit a lot less. Your TV editor, perfect. So, and that's part of your pitch and your whole thing. I'm dying to know about your book, because there's specifics in there that are going to make this extremely unique. Thank you, Vicky. Is there anyone else that's kind enough to share their niches? And what I really liked from Vicky is one niche led to another, to another. I think you've got niches like psychedelic science in there. People interested in the cosmos and all these things. But aliens is huge. All right, anyone else? Jay, Michael? Gosh, sci-fi. I don't know how I attract so much sci-fi. Everyone's probably a little trippy on this call. So, space, psychedelics, What else you got? Dreaming. Oh my God. See, I feel like I could sell this. There are not enough good books and movies like this. I've got my neighbor here inside. So I don't know what a niche is, honestly. Well, thank you, Jay. I don't either. I'm learning. But for me, niche is like, it's an organic living stratosphere, if you will. It's a culture, it's a community, it's a field, it's a market, it's a category. I'm going to send you something that I think, well, actually, since I work with Inner Traditions so closely, if you just go to innertraditions.com at some point, and I'll address this now and in the email I sent, innertraditions.com, look at the categories. When I started working for them, can you shut that door, Spirit Man? Is that cool? Thanks. When I started working for them, I was telling about their value, $1 million niches, how they're the leading edge, and they don't know it. That they don't know there are all these niches out here. Okay, so Jay, you gave me, who doesn't know niches? Who said that? Is that Jay? What niches? Bet, honestly, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's kind of category, really. And I'm thinking of sellable niches for you. So I'd look at what kind of sci-fi is this, kind of a Star Wars thing. Is it about Star Galactica? Is it this? Psychedelics, alien. Oof. Here, I'll give you another niche. Primal body, primal mind. This is beyond the paleo diet for total health and a longer life. These niches will be like health nuts, health gurus, people that are into clean eating, people are into slow food. You know, you find out like this is meat eaters, so they're going to eat meat. So obviously this is not a vegetarian niche. And it's kind of funny because there's like the alkaline diet that these kind of have similar niches and very different niches too. Like this one's going to be probably a little more vegetarian, vegan friendly. This is going to be a little more raw. This niche is going to, oh my God, organics, you know, organic. There's all these things. And if you really want to think about a great place to think about niches, it's Instagram. What categories are you hashtagging? Which fields? Inner Traditions, when you go to theirs, their niches that sell well tend to be ancient mysteries, shamanic, psychedelic, alternative health, and aliens. So that's their specific thing. And you'll notice when you look at publishers and their websites, they have their niches, you know, and then within that, you usually find or six. So, and when you're talking about these $1 million niches, it's like, what are they passionate about? I want you to think in their minds, 95%. As I've been working with Inner Traditions, it's been a beautiful challenge to have them see and explain to them how their books actually affect my friends and where they connected with that book. And it was at this conference or this festival or talking to this person or this luminary was talking on a podcast. They have no idea. And they do, but I'm in there. And you guys probably are too. And I want you to study and watch your leading edge niches. Honestly, I learned this a lot from people like Daniel Pinchbeck. His niches were like, if you've read Breaking Open the Head, hopefully a couple of you have here, or 2012. His next book, I think it's called How Soon Is Now? I think that's his next book. And at least his first ones were really fusing niches of psychedelics, media, and media criticism, which I'm huge about. Alternative currencies, alternative ways of living, Burning Man, alternative social structures. And he's now, of course, being Daniel, he's now looking into alternative sexuality in his next book and all these. I think he's a big systematic change. So in his book, I bet you, I haven't really gone through it, but he's probably got $1 million niche markets when he addresses different subject titles, which is a great way to do a book. If we create what I'll call the $1 million kind of $1 million niche solution, you can then put those niches in your table of contents. It doesn't mean you're being cheap or marketing. It means you're talking to your communities. and those people pick up the book. We can actually take those chapters and put them in niche media, so you get promotion that way. Articles, podcasts, radio, the whole thing. Niches. And I help do that in breakthrough sessions and stuff if you're interested. Any other questions about niches or putting your own niche before we move into step, I think we're in step 4 now. Just give you a second. I do understand what niche means. I'm just not sure where I'd fit myself into. You sound like my friend on the call the other night. I don't fit anywhere. And then at the end, we're like, wow, we have like 11 huge niche $1 million communities that need this healing. Sci-fi more on the lines of Naked Lunch. Isn't that hot? Well, Jay, what type of book? Do you have a title for your book? Do you have a field of your book? Can you give me anything? This is, of course, we're a little 5-minute call, probably would come up with a lot of results. So Jay, do you hear me? Do you have a subject matter of your book? Do you have a title, possible title, a field you're interested in, anything? Yeah. Please don't think of this as a label. In fact, I'm not sticking to one label in this. There's going to be a few, and you can pick and choose. But if you're already thinking like labels, you're missing the fun of this. This is fun, and that's my whole point of writing a book. And we are going to use $1 million niches as ideas and concepts and energetic forms. They're movements. That's what they are. They're movements. We want to connect you with movements and make you the leading edge of it. Make you a spokesperson and representative of your beloved movements and communities and culture. If I didn't know who my audience is going to be, I might as well not even write the book. Boy, have I encountered that, Vicki. It's kind of weird thinking about the marketing first, but that's why we're taking one night to think like an agent. Vicki, I had a horrible experience like this summer. This amazing woman, amazing tantrika, doing things no one else on the planet is. Most exciting story I've ever heard in my life, really. Like, so exciting. $1 million story, $1 million movie option. But she didn't look at her market, didn't do the basic think like an agent things, and turned in this 300-page, huge unpublishable form. If you think about your markets in advance, and if you just think about these few ideas, I think you might find you'll have your concept and you can sell it a lot easier. Yeah, Vicki, I'd love to do a breakthrough session with you sometime. And I get the sense that some of these sci-fi things are also meant to be optioned for movies. Hollywood is just so hungry right now. Maybe that's why I moved to Southern California. All right. Thank you, guys. If you have other things, and Jay, if you have questions, you can always set up a breakthrough session or just a call, just a call, and I'll help you out. That's what I'm here for. But what I do want to see is books start getting out there more in people's genius. It's kind of sad. All right. Yeah. So I talked about the niches, you got to see how people are 95% passionate about them. Think about them in their perspective as you're writing this. I did that in Electric Jesus. What were my niches? Psychedelics, counterculture, activism, new economies, new forms of living, all those kind of people. Burners. Niches I kind of want, I want to see more of an agent myself. I want some cryptocurrency writers. Like, I'd love a good old cryptocurrency I feel like that's so huge. Bitcoin's doing well. People are mining it. Like, I'd love to have a best-selling book on that. I think it'd do really well. I love money books that are good, interesting, and fun. I think there are a lot of stupid ones, pointless ones. But a good one, I just feel like a lot of hippies, healers, writers, they need this stuff. So things about money and abundance, wealth consciousness, I love, but especially like cryptocurrency and tripping the system. I do love psychedelic guides, and there's a huge need for them. I like the new science stuff if it's done really well with a killer, simple concept that just electrifies. I've also kind of been looking for an EDM person, someone to write about the scene, the music, but in a way that could really stand out and be special. I'm not sure if it can happen. I haven't seen it yet. So those are some of the niches I'm into. And of course, sci-fi. Why is that? I've gone to the Amazon. I understand that culture a bit. I'm definitely on board with the whole healing movement. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. And the thing is, maybe you have to study what you're into, get to know those movements. And I love that. Love going on anthropological journalist mission to understand who I'm going to write about better. My first attempt at a book, I wish I'd known how to write one, was Prague, expats in the 90s. And I went there to experience it. I'm still going to rehash that book, but that's later on. I wish I had had me back then. I did. Okay, guys. Good, Jay. It seems like we're getting somewhere with that. Now, the step 4 is know your $1 million problem. You have your $1 million niche. Now, what's the $1 million problem within the niche, right? What is, as one of my mentors says, it's not what's the Band-Aid problem, what's little Nick. And I think it's the problem most conscious visionaries have, is they don't know their extreme value and that they can really help transform everyone's lives. And to first know your extreme value, you have to see the extreme problem. And I'm not the guy to bring up the problem too much. In fact, I'm always like, why are you throwing the block before the huge benefit? But let's start there, because if we know that, then we know the journey to a best-selling book. It's the bleeding neck problem. This is like, if you solve this problem, their lives change. As I was saying, the second half of their life begins. They're in a new reality. They get the results. They get the outcome you're looking for. Now, it may sound like I'm talking about a great self-help book. First of all, I don't like the word self-help. I don't want to do those type of books. I want to make them more of like idea pieces or cultural icons or something more perennial to it. There's got to be a little bit of that Johnny Angel edge, or I wouldn't pick it up or help. I'd probably turn it down if it was just real simple. Well, simple's not a problem, but shallow. Let's use that. You could do a sci-fi book and want the same effects. There's still going to be $1 million solution. There's going to be a problem that is being worked out in this text for your $1 million communities. Even though it's artistic, even though it's genius, it's well crafted, there is a thought to this of like, why are so many people interested? I feel like the new Blade Runner movie missed that a little bit, went a little too long, and probably just didn't have that $1 million answer for folks, that $1 million depth, the $1 million characters that you care about that represent these things. So if you find that problem, we'll get the solution. Now, let me see. Let me see if I can find a problem for you. Here we got Tantric Secrets for Men. Sometimes it's good to show the solution, to show the problem. What every woman will want her man to know about enhancing sexual ecstasy. So I think the problem is people are feeling, oh gosh, this is my whole next book. Here, I'll give you my problem. For 10 years, I studied this thing I called inside of me that was the black bowling ball. That's what I called it in the Electric Jesus in my life. It was kind of a metaphorical thing. You know, it was anxiety, it was depression, it was heaviness, it was, everything. And I went to try to fix it. And I went on this huge journey. I thought I was going to write this book about the whole journey and all my past experience and what I suffered through and the whole thing. I'll probably still write some type of memoir about that later. But since I started this program, I realized I want to write my next book. People have been asking this for years. When they read The Electric Jesus, there's usually 2 things they write me about. One is aliens, for all you sci-fi people, because there's a couple alien things in there that are pretty strange even for me that happened. And the main one is they read about this black bowling ball, because I feel like everyone's got a black bowling ball. Oh, maybe it's like they feel a little suicidal, they're depressed, they're anxious, they don't feel like they can get done, the heaviness, all these things. And I would just call it vibrational density. Went through this horrible journey, and then what did I discover? It's vibrational density. In my whole theory, the $1 million problem is that people are trying to fix being energetically anemic. I believe we're really low on yang energy, super low on yang. And to pick your yang energy, you have to pick yin up too. But instead of fixing everything, trying, forcing, going to a million healing things, my whole next book is let's just fill you up with yang. Don't try to fix the wilted flower. Nurture and grow it and create 5 times the amount of energy. So now I'm getting into my miracle solution, which is 5 times yang in the whole premise of my book. But you can see the problem I have is everything. PTSD, vibrational density. Everyone's got it. And I'm going to put that in the book pretty early on so that people know, dude, you're going through this. We're going through this as a culture. We have for history. And guess what? Holy shit. I've been through this journey. I'm not going to tell you all the bad stuff because I'm going to give you the medicine. And it doesn't have to be this way. And we'll get into that future journey soon. But I'm hoping to show that solves $1 million problem. I think the ethical slut solved $1 million problem. Hey, I'm in a committed relationship. I love my partner and I want to move on. I want not move on. I want to have a little fun. Dude, that's huge for people. People are so stuck sexually, sensually. Oh, where's this Mama Gina book? I thought this one she's established a name. I hope some of you know who Mama Gina is. She is a conscious visionary I love. I'd love her to call me up to help with the book. And she works on pleasure revolutionary. She's been in USA, on tons of media, tons of shows, all that kind of thing. And her book simply says, this is riskier, but this is kind of like I said, I like books that she's taking kind of the tantra world, sexual healing world, all of these things and putting in a really sassy, hipster, but elegant way. And this is just called Pussy, a Reclamation. So there's $1 million problem. Is I think a lot of women, we've got our niche, which is half of the world. And then within that niche is probably women that see this word and are like, oh my God, I need to reclaim that. I had a friend, she went to a book fair and saw Mama Gina who was talking about pussy, and her light, she lit up. She's like, oh my God, I've been spiritual, but I'm not connected to I would say my sexual energy, my yang, or that kind of, and she realized this, and she went to a very famous spiritual leader that same day who was speaking and said, oh, what do you think about this idea of we need to get into the P word, And the woman said, oh, we don't say that word here. We don't say that word. So I said, wow, when you write your book, we need that scene right at the front, because you're going to show the $1 million problem. The spiritual people don't want to go there. We're going there. And that's often how it is. Oh, the world's like this. No one goes here. Let's go here. There's a different solution. What else was all these books are problem oriented, and you'll see even in your sci-fi movies, there's kind of a overall question being answered. This one's great. Old perennial for inner traditions, Stove Medicine, a Chinese medicinal guide to healing with gems and minerals. I think the $1 million problem here is, how do I work with gems and minerals? People are really into crystals. It's a huge thing. You can't go to any local town without finding a crystal store. The gem show is huge. And it kind of answers that $1 million problem. How do I that's probably a lot of the solution, is how do I become a master? Here's my problem, and you become a master. All right, you hotshots. Do any of you have $1 million problem out there? And maybe as you're doing this, I'll give just one more example. Please write in there your $1 million problem. One woman I'm working with, Debbie Baxter, amazing artist. She's been in Vice. She's been in the New York Post. She's now creating her media to beget more media. And you can see how I kind of think of it as agenting. I'd rather agent you than just create a book. But the book is the thing that's going to make it all work. So she does this thing called the Nest Project. And she's now realizing she's sitting on this huge metaphor for reality. She used to not get much attention and these things. And I'm like, well, you just need to find your niches and your edge, and let's go. And now she's doing whole press releases, publicity stunts to heal the planet. And she's kind of a mom, a sexy turned on mom who wants to create safe places for people to, just like in a nest, feel safe, kind of relax, transform, and eventually fly, And when do we provide a place like this in our culture? Never. Well, what is she doing? She's going into these very exciting, slightly dangerous, but she's doing it in a smart way, niches. She's doing a Black Lives Tour. So going to places with people who've been traumatized and these things and providing this nest, having the community build it together. That's a huge portion of it. And they come in, she does photos, it's for free, but then she also makes money because she does benefits and she sells packages, but it's for the community. But still press comes and we're going to turn this into a book. So the problems, I mean, she's on $1 Million. Hey guys, let's just give it 1 minute more and then I'm in. Oh, it's already recording, honey. Oh, okay. Wonderful. Well, might as well continue since everyone's going to get this in the email blast anyway. So sorry guys, computer totally overheated here in Joshua Tree. Maybe you noticed I was sweating. The AC went off and the computer just died for a second. So just to review, I see we have someone new on. Hey, Dane, you're actually the kind of guy I think would be great for a book, by the way. He's kind of leading edge shaman, one of the best I know, to be honest. And so let's just we're going to go back through real quick of the first 4 steps and we'll go into 5, 6, 7 to close up here. The most important one was, like I said, you have to say yes. And you can look at the previous video for that information. 2 is you choose your attitude. If you do those 2, I can help you get a book through every time. Those are the things that stop everyone. It's an attitude thing. Attitude prevents people from getting a book done. 3 was know your $1 million niches. Spearman, could you close that door, please, Steve? 4 is know your $1 million problem for your niches, which we were getting into. And 5 is know your $1 million solution for the niches, or know your solution for the $1 million problem of each niche. So we were already getting into that some, but these huge communities are rising up. They need major transformation. Everyone's looking for that. Everyone's looking for the big upgrades in this. And whether it's nonfiction, fiction, kind of a help book, somehow it's going to provide that, what I call $1 million miracle, the transformation for the whole thing. And I did show you a bunch of examples for that. Gosh, this one is a great one. Extended massive orgasm. That solves a lot of problems for people. You know, it says it right there. And once you get that solution, gosh, I wish I had more time for that, but I do feel like. Once you have that solution, we then come up with your best-selling concept and title and subtitle. That's how it goes. So I'll give you some examples of people I'm working with in their $1 million solution, or their solution for the $1 million problem in the $1 million niche. And this is our key to writing a best-selling book. So one person I'm working with, he came to me, was going to do all this stuff about his history and initiation, but it's already been done. There was nothing new. Oh, I'm trying to heal this. It was an 85 at best. And he finally admitted it. And I said, well, what are you into? Well, I'm into synchronicities. What about that? Da-da-da. How do they work? Da-da-da. How's it affected and changed your life truly and wholeheartedly and to 1,000,000%? He tells that. And then over time, this kid that had been like lifting concrete bricks as a construction job, we finally get a best-selling concept. And I think this is just what I was talking about. It fuses niches and it kind of sounds a little hipster. It's a little leading edge. And it was when we came up with the synchronicity effect. It can have science behind it. It's wisdom. I think people love synchronicities. They give the book, they pass to someone else because that's synchronicity. There's a whole niche of people who love synchronicities. How do I know this? Because I worked in a lot of places where I would connect with these communities. So we came up with the synchronicity effect. That's the title. And then you need that hit subtitle too sometimes. It felt like it needed something. Sync up with miracles. Best-selling title, best-selling tagline. Often one is subtle, one's a little more glamorous. One kind of is more metaphorical, one says what you get. That's pretty common. I'll give you some examples. Another person I'm working with, she came to me with like tarot and wanted to do tarot and had ideas about energy healing and yoga and turning a tarot deck. But it seemed a little bit like I've heard that before. And then she said, but I want to call it black and white medicine. And I helped her develop this, actually the brand name herself. Like we hadn't had a name. I'm like, what about black and white medicine? Oh yeah. And I think there's a huge market for people to integrate their black energy or black energy medicine, white energy medicine, and play with the different aspects of ourselves. She fit the energy medicine in there. She fit the tantric yoga stuff in there. They become the major arcana of this oracle. But now I think we can sell something. It looks higher end. I'm really into things that look a little more higher end than transformational culture's used to. It's a little more mainstream, a little more hipster, a little more like people that actually have money will buy the thing. And I've been looking for this tarot deck. We found some tarot decks that kind of look cool like this, but they don't solve the $1 million problem. This black and white energy medicine does. Here's some that I like of other authors. The 4-Hour Work Week by, Timothy Ferriss. I thought it was great. Escape the 9-to-5, live anywhere, and join the new rich. A little cheesy, a little too marketing for me, but you get the idea. It's a $1 million niche, $1 million solution. This is Malcolm Gladwell. He's really great at these idea concept books. And he has like David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants. How many underdogs are out there? David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants. I actually think he had a review of that title, and it was David and Goliath. This was like a third line in the book. You'll sometimes see that. The advantages of disadvantages. And I think everyone feels like an underdog. And he picked different niches in that book to cover, and it's a bestseller. And I use it all the time because it shows me how being an underdog is actually totally an advantage, totally transformed my way of thinking reality. And in the sense, that's what the best-selling concept is. It's a book that will totally transform people. I don't want to fake promise it. I want to give it and deliver it. And that's your $1 million value. That's your book. That's your transformation. And that's how I agent you beyond just being a writer, being a public speaker, a leader, a person that sells packages, all that thing. Now, I'm sorry that my computer burned out there from the heat. So we're missing a few of the other folks that were on here before. But do either of you guys have a best-selling title concept? Do you want to shop for a couple minutes? A minute or two? I'm curious if the sci-fi people have a title of their sci-fi. Those are often pretty fun. I don't think so, but so that's what I do in these sessions a lot, is help people come up with a title. I love it. I love it so much. More than energy healing, more than shamanism, more than this. I love a good media title. I love something that's going to go all the way. It's going to do the work for you, especially if you're a conscious visionary that's not known yet. Have a title that will do the work for you. I've always done that. So if you want a buddy to help you with that and guide you through the steps, I can do that. And then number 7, we've been through all these steps and not one of them's been about writing. And this is how to write a best-selling book. The final step I'd say is 95% extreme execution. 95% execution. And you learn my extreme writing techniques. They're very simple, really. I just say start using these before you start the book. Don't write 300 pages and then send it to me and I have to show you there aren't any active verbs hardly in the first 5 pages, 5 chapters, 500 pages. You know, there's very simple things to execute the writing. Table of contents, your storyline, your through line we've already worked on. That's going to be the $1 million solution, the transformation. It will be throughout the whole book. If we have that, we have a concept, we have a title, we can come up with chapters, teach you the extreme writing, and then I can help you, guide you, usher it right into touchdown, actually getting published. And like I said, all you got to do really is step 1. You got to say yes. Yes to showing up. Yes to quarterbacking your dreams. Yes to actually like shining your genius on the world. And for me, that's the whole purpose of a book. And that's why I love this stuff. I believe less work is more. I'd rather focus on the 5% of awesome people ready to show up and do something and see that hit, see that ignite, see it actually go out into the world than the 95% of people that talk about it at parties, festivals, and ceremonies. So that's the extreme book kind of think like an agent lessons today. I hope you learned some stuff. I apologize for the tech. I now know to put the AC on ultra drive when we do a Zoom because it's very hot. Kind of takes a lot of energy, I guess, and it can get your temperature up. But those are the 7 forms. If you're interested, I would love to do a 55-minute like breakthrough session with some of you cats out there. I will send it. You can either send me an email, you have that, but I'll send up a follow email with these 2 links. And really, especially if you want to work on a title, your concept, your niches, all the things we talked about today, just give me a ring. This is what I love to do. Final question? Last burning question? Okay. And like I said, say yes. And when you go to the publishing process, instead of thinking like a 85% writer that's going to struggle and try, or an editor that's overwhelmed, come into it with a little bit of your badass energy and just think like an agent. All right. Well, guys, thanks for showing up. Have questions, email me, and I'll get back to you. And definitely, I want to hear about your books. So set up a session with me if that interests you at all. Definitely interests me. All right. Good night.